Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 54. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad to be back with you guys for this Tuesday. Don't do too many Tuesday shows in season, but coming off the Steelers Monday night game, I have to talk about things a little bit quicker today. And despite it always being that late night, early morning, and all that kind of fun stuff, it's always much sweeter, always much better in a victory, which the Steelers secured last night, 24-17 over the Colts. Pittsburgh now 4-7 on the year. Really, I know it sounds so cliche and trite and so Hollywood to say total team win. Everybody deserves credit for the victory, but it really felt like it was a total team win, not just one guy. So many players stepping up to get that win on the road under the Monday night primetime lights.
Yeah, look, short week, right? And I told my wife I was running down the schedule today. I said, thank God, just one more primetime late game. And it happens to fall. Not like we have special plans or anything, but December 24th, obviously that game against the Raiders. I think that's a Saturday night, right? And
yes.
She made sure to point that out to me. She said, any chance of that being flexed? And I said, nah, I don't think so, especially with it being 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, all like that. I don't think they would move that game there. But yeah, short week. And look, I think we both agreed ahead of this thing that this was a game that the Steelers should win against the Colts. And obviously the possibility was there that they wouldn't win it. But I kind of felt that they should have won that game. And while they decided to make it one of those usual roller coaster rides in the second half for us, they took care of business, and I think you're right. I think at different spots of the game here, all three phases did some good things and some bad things. So it was a team win overall, and it just comes down to the fact that style points sometimes really don't, or not sometimes, don't matter at all. Just you got to come away with the W, and 5 years from now we'll only remember a few things about this game, and most specifically we'll remember that it was a W.
Right, and that's the most important thing. When you're a team coming into a game with 3 wins, you're just trying to get victories however you can get them. Don't really care too much about the style points or how pretty it was. Just wins are wins, and that's all that really matters. But before we get into the game itself, let's just do some quick housekeeping from an inactive standpoint and from a roster move standpoint. As expected, the team elevated Anthony McFarland on Monday prior to the game. Little did we know he'd have a pretty big role in this contest. Also elevated wide receiver Cody White. That replaced the injured Miles Boykin, who was inactive for this game. Robert Spillane, also inactive for this game with a back injury. Mark Robinson dressed, did not see snaps on defense in this one. Other inactives are pretty typical across the board, so nothing incredibly notable there. Again, Miles Boykin, Robert Spillane being down due to injury. Now getting into the game itself, and I think you want to start with that run game, with the backfield. You go into this game with Najee Harris. You figured he's going to be the guy, get 85% of the snaps in this game, considering Jaylen Warren is out. And then Harris battles what we later found out to be an abdominal injury in the first half, is gone by halftime. And from there, it's Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. And on a personal note, I'm just really happy for those guys because, Snell's carved out his role as a special teamer, barely seen the field offensively this year. McFarland had not stepped onto a football field in literally a calendar year, November 28th of 2021. The last time that happened. Both guys ran well. Both guys ran hard. That's some good football justice karma to see those guys succeed.
Yeah, the old they ran the old fungible backfield, didn't they?
They did.
But Najee, it looked like I thought maybe something had happened initially with his foot or ankle or something, because it looked like he had been limping a little bit, and I didn't really realize until they said on the broadcast, I don't think, or maybe it was Bert that tweeted something out there that it was, oblique or something, abdomen around, something along those lines there. But I mean, obviously it was serious enough for him to have to go to the locker room to get checked out. And then, he didn't come back into the game after that. So as you stated, going into this, you kind of had a feeling maybe Benny was going to get a couple of snaps, couple of carries, maybe McFarland get a couple of snaps, couple of carries. But, the belief obviously was that it was going to be Najee's workload in this game. And I kind of felt like he was going to have 20, 22 carries in this game and then be able to run well on that front. In order to win this game. Well, obviously he didn't get that amount of carries, but you add up the totality between him and Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland Jr., they did hit that number. And you mix in, some design quarterback draws, if you will, by Kenny Pickett. And boy, the running game, I mean, that's what, 3 games in a row where we had
100 plus yards.
Yeah, where we've seen some very positive things in that. And boy, Benny Snell ran hard. I made some nice reads and some cuts. I thought McFarland did as well too, man. Some short yardage inside the tackle kind of stuff for Anthony McFarland Jr. as well too. So I like how they were utilized. Those guys were hungry on top of it. And I just thought, even Najee, when Najee was in the game, I thought he had some nice runs in there as well too. The offensive line, for the most part, in the run blocking department, I thought it was okay. Some nice holes in there. There was obviously a couple of other plays were not so great. And in fact, on one of those plays, I think like the toss or whatnot to the right side, Derek White, didn't successfully, make a block on one of those in there. And even Derek White got a carry or two carry in this game as well. So I think, one of the plus things when you talk about the offense coming out of this game was going into and coming out was the need to run successfully against that, pretty stout front that's been pretty good against the run overall. And they accomplished that. And I think that led to pretty good balance overall. I think very even. It was something like 32-32 as far as dropbacks and design runs go. So you can't get any more balanced than that. But kudos to them. And as you stated, kudos to Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland Jr. for having themselves ready and delivering.
I mean, I was just going to say, don't look now, but since the bye, they ran for 217 against the Saints. They ran for 100-plus yards against the Bengals. They ran for $172 against the Colts, who came into that game with a number 2 run defense in football. Now, they had a couple of injuries, but most of those guys played. Buckner played, Franklin played, so they weren't missing the majority of those players. This run game has gotten going. I thought the down blocks were good. The line was getting a push. The running backs were getting north-south and pushing the pile forward. So, I mean, we'll see if that continues. But I know after that Saints game, we asked, well, that was great. 217 is fantastic. But can you keep that up in the sense of getting a strong running game going or something resembling that? And they have. And so that's been good. It's been good for the offense. It's been good for Kenny Pickett. And that's why this team has won two or three since the bye.
Yeah, look, and we talked about continuity with this offensive line as opposed to other offensive lines around the league. And I think you're starting to see kind of the fruits of that now with and with the teachings of finally Pat Meyer's message or whatnot, or how he likes to do things is getting. Look, even I thought Kevin Dotson had a pretty nice game overall in this one. It opened up some holes on that side. And on the flip side, I think he had a couple of negative plays as well too. But he stuck out, especially in on one of those goal line runs there. Did a good job of being the low man and getting into the hip of the defender and pushing him out of the way there. So that's and look, as when we went into this season, what did we say? They're going to have to run the football effectively for the most part, not turn the football over, and try to keep the scoreboard down on the other side defensively. And technically, it wasn't pretty at times, but I mean that's the way this thing happened.
I'm interested in your thoughts on Kenny Pickett and this passing offense. Numbers weren't gaudy, no touchdown passes, although Pickett threw a great ball to Deontay Johnson that should have been caught and was dropped. But what were your overall impressions on Pickett in this passing game?
I thought he had a couple of off moments there early, a slant flat that I think he hit the flat, probably should have waited for that window to hit the slant on there. And, even if you look at these, the throw over to that left side to Steven Sims, yeah, it was high, but how many guys make that catch though?
It's one that Sims should have had.
Right, and that's my point. When you boil it down, was it a perfect throw? No, but was it one that could have been caught? Was it a catchable football? And the answer is yes there. So I don't want to be too critical of him there. But even within that first quarter, there were some nice reads and some nice throws. He really got on a nice little run there. I think in the second quarter, where he had something like 7 completions strung together. I think even mixed in there. Wasn't there a successful screen or something? Is that allowed?
Yeah, that was to McFarland, right? For 11 or 12 yards it picked up.
Right. I thought look, what are the main things that we've been talking about him all year anyway? Poise. He's very poised. The accuracy, for the most part, I thought was there. There was a couple of them that weren't as accurate as you would obviously like them to be there. But I thought he managed the game very, very well overall. There's still things like the free runner that was allowed that he didn't. The quarterbacks you did a film room on that this morning there, where you got so many guys and you got so many guys up front and so many guys coming, you can't block them all. So the quarterback's got to be responsible for one of them, and slow developing route, I guess, by McFarland. But anyway, that's got to be on the quarterback. That's not on the offensive line there. So another one of those live and learn type situations, as was kind of that early slant flat, which he ended up getting that right in the second quarter, going back to that, going the other direction there. So he learned from that there overall. I just thought it was an efficient game. The deep ball to Pickens was great. Not only was it a great time and spot for it, put it where his guy was going to get it, and just overall he didn't turn the football over. He's gone now 100 pass attempts without throwing an interception. Go back to the final pass I think that he threw against the Eagles. That was his last interception there, so kudos to him for that. Protected the football, seemed to have good control of the offense, and then you fast forward to the end of the game situation there. You're behind. You need a drive on the road on Monday Night Football. And I think he went, was it 6 of 7 or something on that drive, or in the fourth quarter in general, for 40-something yards. And obviously took him down the field, got the touchdown. And then, man, the play that he made on the 2-point conversion, that's, you talk about extended play situations and making something happen, and he did. So top to bottom, he took a step forward, and that might very well be his best performance to date, quite honestly.
I think maybe his most complete game. I think it was
complete. There you go. We've been calling for that, right?
Sure, right. I think it was a little slow. What is
his most complete? Yeah.
Right. I think the start was a bit slow. I think it was kind of the inverse of the Bengals game, where Pickett got off to a hot start and then kind of faded in the second half. The first quarter was a little bit rougher. Like you mentioned, that unblocked defender on that third down. Everybody instantly wanted to kill the offensive line for that. It's not on the offensive line. That is on just the scheme, and the protection is built the proper way, and the quarterback has to get the ball out hot on that one. But the two biggest things that you touched on, taking care of the football. It's a very simple formula. If you run the ball effectively, efficiently, you take care of the football, you're going to be in most games. You're not going to generally get blown out by 30 points and things like that. When you turn the football over, when you can't run the ball, that's when you've gotten the losses to the Bills and the Eagles and things like that. So that's obviously required, mandatory, but he knows it, but still important to see. And then situational football, against the Bengals, they run a 2-minute drill, get a field goal end of half last week. They get a field goal near the end of the half against the Colts this week, and then Pickett leading the game-winning drive. So some really high-level plays. And it's not just Pickett. It's been some run game component stuff as well. But I think Pickett's played well situationally. I think he's, improved and learned from mistakes on the fly in game. I think you pointed that out well. And just taking care of the football. You do those things. That's the progress we want to see. When we talk about progress situationally, red zone, this team 2 or 3 in the red zone in this game, those are hitting all the marks that we talk about.
Yeah, look, I mean, their first 5 drives, their first 5 possessions of the game, 4 of them ended in points. Now, you get spoiled. You get kind of greedy kind of quick. You come away with those 4 drives over 16 points, and an area where they need to get him right now. The next part of his development now, I think that we want to focus on is he's got to get better in the red zone when throwing.
Sure, but you saw some improvement, I thought, against the Colts.
Sure. I mean, the 2-point play alone,
right?
Shows that. But I think just missing Pickens, and I meant to go back and look at that route because or the whole play design because man, he sure did get open, didn't he? And
yeah, it was like slot alignment, ran to the corner. I mean, you put that more on. Some people said that it was on Pickens for one-handed grab. I put it on Pickett too. That guy's that open. You can't make him reach for that one.
Right.
Now the throw to Deontay, that should have been a touchdown pass to Pickett. That's a great ball from Kenny Pickett.
Sure, absolutely. So and once again, it's not all on him, but you saw a situation where we've seen. Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers do it over the years where, man, they drive down the field and you turn around and all the success they're having on offense, they have 9 points. and you let teams hang around there. So just would like to see them not only in the passing game, but just finish some of these drives out. More of these drives out with 7 points. But and I think you put it you wrapped the bow around it nicely, just saying it was the most complete game that I think we've seen. And also once again, the element of him doing it on the road, come back or come from behind, game winning drive, if you will, on the road on Monday Night Football. I mean, if you can handle that kind of stuff, then it's just about how much can you pick up and how much better can you get. Look, the turning point of and it'll be interesting to see. I hope Tyler Wise don't listen to this.
Yeah, you're giving him. We got to start getting some royalties for this.
I know. Well, I mean, I hope he don't. I hope he doesn't listen to it and then get influenced by it. I don't. He's smart. He knows this stuff as good as we do here. But I really think maybe at least one of the turning points of this game was that 3rd and 9. What was it, first or second play of the fourth quarter, I think. And Kenny doing a good job of sliding in the pocket and hitting Pickens on kind of a dagger concept there. And then he got hit in the head as part of that. So that ended up being a 29-yard play, 13 yards and like 28 yards overall. I mean, technically that's not an explosive play, but it might as well. The ball ended up 28 yards down the field, so count it as you will. But I mean, if you don't convert there in that 3rd and 9 situation, how does the complexion of the game change there? So I thought it was a very important play in that game, turning point, if you will, 3rd and 9 situation, kind of you really want to get on down the field and kind of put that ball in the end zone in there. And I thought it was a great read, great pocket presence and great throw and big play, like I said, of the game.
And to that point, situational football, how about the 3rd down offense? It's been actually pretty sneaky good since the bye. 9 of 17 against the Saints. They were 8 of 17 against the Bengals, and they were 7 of 14 against the Colts. I mean, that's probably too many 3rd downs in general, but at least they're converting in those moments. And so that's a positive thing to take away overall. I think they were good once they got in the red zone. They just had difficulty getting to the red zone. You get the James Pierre interception, your offense stalls, does nothing, get punt. So they were having trouble getting to the 20 once they got there. They were finishing some of those drives off. But Still work to do, but I like the progress. I just like the general trend for the run game being more consistent and efficient, not asking Pickett to do too much, allows him to play more efficiently and not take as many chances and feel like he has to do it all. So it feels like certainly last night it was a much more balanced. It was really the definition of a balanced offense last night.
You talk about third down. The Steelers were 5 of 8 on third downs of 5 yards or fewer. With 4 of those 5 successful third down conversions coming on runs, and one other on a Kenny Pickett scramble. And speaking of scrambles, we talked ahead of this game how this is kind of game maybe if he uses discretionary and does it at the right time, maybe he can impact it a little bit with his feet. And what did he have, like 30-something yards on the ground in this one?
Yeah, 6 carries for 32 yards, and really I think it's 5 for 33 because there was a kneel down at the end. So, I mean, yeah, he made some plays. I liked they went to that design draw. First time was fun. Second time was less fun.
Yeah, one too many times there. But, I don't know what you think about the play calling. I mean, you mentioned Matt Canada's name, and you say anything positive about him, and people will turn off your podcast or mute you or block you on Twitter or whatnot. But I thought overall for what it was, I didn't think it was a badly called game at all. Now, did I like the trick play down there, or not, the
shovel pass?
Yeah, to Watt? No. Even if that works, I'm holding my breath on that type situation. They're obviously, these tight end screens don't usually work out good, screens in general, and anything to Gentry doesn't seem to work out that well that way. I mean, I could go down the list and probably check off 8, 9 play calls that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I think top to bottom, I didn't think it was that badly called of a game.
I didn't either. Anytime you have 60 plays in a game, there's going to be a couple you don't like. I do feel bad for Zach Gentry. He does the dirty work the entire game. They say, all right, we're going to throw it to you, Gentry, with a screen 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you're going to get destroyed, and everyone's going to hate you. So that's poor Zach Gentry for that. But I thought it was, generally speaking, a well-called game. I'll have to go back to the All-22 when I get to kind of watch it all lumped together. I see that picture a bit clearer. It doesn't sound like they were doing a lot of things to hear the Colts say whatever that defender was. They're running the same plays. And so that was a very funny moment. Now, that was more in frustration because that was after a McFarland 9-yard run. So the frustration was they're doing this stuff and we can't stop it. We know what they're going to do. So take that for whatever it's worth. But I thought the play calling was largely fine. And when you have a good run game, you have a balanced attack, generally the play calling is going to be okay.
Go back to Pickett, 20 of 28 passing overall. Man, that harkens back to the 2004 pass attempts amount. And once again, it goes back to what 32 pass plays called, 32 design runs called there. So you like the overall balance. How many times have we talked about? Man, can't have him dropping back 40, 43 times
right.
A game like that. And then you want to go inside the numbers even more. We just talked about. I mean. That first pass over there to the left to Sims, is that a drop? I wonder what PFF said on that one.
Yeah, it's a catchable ball. I don't know if you want to call it a drop or a good play by the defender. It's not the best throw, but all I care about is that catchable. I think that is definitely catchable.
I do as well. It's got me curious now what PFF has on.
And unfortunately, that black hole in the slot that I wrote about earlier this week continues. Gunnar had, a rush, no reception. Sims, they tried a couple things with him, nothing worked. So it's really just a 2-man show at wide receiver, and Deontay's not playing all that well. So it's kind of a 1-man show and Pat, but the run game certainly easing some of the issues there.
All right. Well, they did not charge Steven Sims with a drop on that one, and that's understandable. So we'll throw that one out, even though it wasn't, it was a catchable ball. But he did have 2 other drops in there. You mentioned the one in the end zone there. I'm pretty sure that's probably the one that they're calling the drop on Deontay Johnson, and then that one to Pickens, which I assume. Well, I suppose that could be 1 or 2. One over there on the sideline that he didn't secure, the one down low. Mm-hmm. I thought the one in the middle of the field that Pickens is going down to the ground on. Could the ball could have been better? Could that pass have been more off the ground? Absolutely, but I don't know. Pickens has got to catch that, right?
Yeah, he caught it weird. His hands didn't feel like they were in the proper position to secure that one. It's a low throw, but it's a play that Pickens certainly can and needs to make.
I guess, long story short, what I'm getting at here, that Pickett's numbers could have been even better than what they were.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of bad balls. There was one he skipped to Deontay left side, and I mean, again, we can nitpick that kind of stuff. And again, I mean, it's still 174 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, it doesn't scream, fantastic game.
Only one explosive play,
Right. So, I want to be a little bit measured in that. But again, it's watching the tape, seeing the progress. Situational football was key, taking care of the football. And again, just when you have that run game, when you have that balance. I mean, Pickett's first 3 starts, the games he played fully in, he was dropping back literally 52 times a game on average. Now that number is probably around 35, if that. And that's where you want that number to be.
And they had 3 penalties in total? Was it two on the offense, right? You had the whole.
There's one on Moore. What about the other ones?
There was a Cam Sutton offside on the field goal, and what was the other penalty?
Miles Jack. That was declined for holding. Minka was called for DPI on the play before the Taylor fumble.
All right, so 1 offensive penalty in this.
Yeah, and that's really good. I mean, they've been killing this team for a couple of weeks now, so that's a great point as well. Just playing cleaner football. Again, you don't commit penalties, you don't turn the football over, you run the ball. You're going to win most of those games, but at least you're going to be in virtually every single one of those games.
Yeah, and my point in recapping those is, how would that have impacted Pickett's game or the offense in general had they had a couple more penalties? Would they have been able to overcome it? Luckily, we don't have to answer that question there, but it that allows you to be able to throw for 174 yards when you're not making up the penalty yardage and all like that. And you're able to have net yards rushing of what was around 172 yards in total, I think, in the game there. So, look, I mean, we drew the line in the sand on Pickett a couple of weeks ago and said, look, we want to start seeing, little improvements with him, and I think we have, and I don't, he's not. You'd like to see him maybe push the football down the field a little bit more than he's been. I mean, the fact that you only had 1 explosive play in the game and still won, probably a little bit, fortunate there. Although we mentioned the other kind of quasi explosive play of the pass on the dagger to Pickens with the penalty tacked on top of it there. So I would say, moving forward here, you want to continue to see him try to push the football down the field a little bit more, and red zone.
And I will let you know if that check from Matt Canada clears, the one that he's going to send me after I told him to run play action, because they've been setting it up. I give Canada credit for that, because they've been running early. They've been in their split zone looks and they're going heavy personnel. Initially, before when I called that, the Colts were in too high pre-snap, and went, they're not going to be able to throw the football there. Then the safety spun down. So good recognition there, good ball, and Pickens. I mean, generally, I don't like the contested catch receivers, because to do that over the long term is a pretty tough thing to do. But Pickens might be the best contested catch receiver in the NFL right now, at least up there with the other elite ones. So you throw it anywhere in his vicinity, he makes that grab. But I also like, Dave, that he's becoming a more complete receiver. His route tree's fuller. He's running digs. He's running slants. Doing a great job on that scramble drill. So he's doing more than just being the run the 9 route, make that contested toe tapping catch kind of guy. He needs to be more than that if he wants to become a really top end receiver in football. He's beginning to show that, and that's really encouraging. And
look, repetition, that's everybody's so want to know, is Pickett the guy? Can he be the guy? And I think Mike Tomlin put it in great perspective after the game, that this is a continued process as he goes through this, and the more he plays, the more he sees. his mistakes aren't overly egregious. I don't think. I mean, yeah, the free rusher situation, he'll learn that.
Yeah, I was just mad because the same thing happened against the Bengals.
Right.
So not to really learn again is a little frustrating.
And then even if you want to go back and nitpick and put into context the interceptions that he's had, he's had some bad ones, yeah, but there are a couple that that are quasi explainable there. But I mean, the fact in the last 3 games that he hasn't thrown in an interception, how many interceptable balls has he had? Maybe 2 in the last 3 games?
Not many. Yeah. I don't know the number, but it's not been a high amount.
And working more with these wide receivers, and it's just going to take him seeing more and playing more. But I mean, I don't know what people were expecting versus where he is now. But like we had said, when you draw that line in the sand from a couple of games ago, I think we've seen legitimate. It hasn't been a huge swing, but I think we've seen enough that we can say, man, he's made some steps these last couple of games.
Right. And unfortunately, in the internet, sports 24/7 news cycle world, there is no nuance. It has to be, well, is he the answer or not the answer? And that's why you and I have always said, let's just keep watching. There's going to be good. There's going to be bad. There's going to be ebbs and flows. And, you might be having a couple of good games and one bad game. And that's all natural and part of the progress and part of that journey. But I think Mike Tomlin, as you said, he put it nicely, but I think what he wants to tell reporters is, shut up. You pull the Nick Saban. Quit asking me about Kenny Pickett's progression every single week because A, it's been the same answer, and B, let's just all watch it unfold and stop trying to conclude about this guy.
Right.
All right. But overall, good performance there from the Steelers offense and making progress themselves as a unit and just the collective. Early in the it was about halfway through the second quarter, and already 4 different players had run the ball and 7 different players had caught a pass. And so that really sums up a microcosm of the whole team effort in this game. Let's flip over now, Dave, to the Steelers defense in this one, which was absolutely lights out in the first half. I mean, the Colts literally had 0 yards after the first quarter of this game. And although things got a bit worse from there, unfortunately, because of some of the field position stuff that the special teams unit team struggled in. But overall, the defense kept the score down. They contained Jonathan Taylor. And although the pass rush was not as good as we thought it could have been, should have been, they made plays late and they closed out the game.
Yeah, got off to a pretty decent start while it looked like the Colts were trying to figure out, remember who they were and what they maybe wanted to try to do in this game. And the Steelers defense was getting off the field with regularity there to start. And then the Colts kind of remembered who they are and what they want to try to do. And we're having a little bit of success with the run game, and then got Jelani Woods involved in the passing game and started to click with him. And the Steelers helped them out, with some, a couple of missed tackles within there. And you turn around and you give them some short fields to work with on top of it. And then all of a sudden they're back in the ball game again, right?
Right. But I mean, you finished the game well, despite that pass rush not being as good as we thought it would be. Alex Highsmith he called game on that one, that last drive. He's got the sack forced fumble. He's got the tackle on that draw play they ran on, I think it was second down, and the bull rush on fourth down to create the pressure and help force the incompletion. So 10 sacks for Highsmith. He wanted double digits. That was his target. He's hit it with plenty of games to play.
Absolutely. We thought that maybe it'd be a good chance of him doing that this year. That was part of the progression that we really wanted to see from him. And he really has become a complete pass rusher now. I believe. I mean, he uses that speed to power now. In fact, he used that on that final snap, right? And pushed the tackle back into Matt Ryan and moved Matt Ryan off his spot through kind of the whole timing of the of that whole playoff there. And had a couple other plays right along in there as well too. So when you talk about, we always talk about TJ Watt being a game wrecker and all. This time, especially late in this contest, it was Alex Highsmith that was the game wrecker in this one. And as you mentioned, 10 sacks now, and man, you still got 6 games left here now. I mean, he could realistically, He could hit 16
15?
sacks, 15, 16, sacks. I mean, and who knows if they come in bunches and you got a guy, other teams are going to choose their poison with Watt on the other side there. That's going to open up a lot more, one-on-one situations, opportunities for Highsmith to win. Now, top to bottom, was the pass rush great in this game? Not really. I thought, and I mentioned that right tackle going into this game. I thought kind of he might be a little bit overrated. He did a fairly good job, I thought, overall on TJ Watt in this game. Now, Watt, I think, had an opportunity at one or two of them missed, and Ryan did a great job of stepping up quickly into the pocket to avoid a couple of those there. But if you would have bet me that the first two sacks that the Steelers had in this game Monday night would have been from defensive backs, I wouldn't have believed you. But that was the case.
Yeah, I thought the interior pressure wasn't good enough to collapse the pocket to allow those edge guys to really work. Ryan could hitch up consistently. But last thing, two things on Highsmith. A, the 10 sacks is huge and really important. Let's not forget about the forced fumbles, too. He's got 4 of them. That's tied first in the NFL, the most among all pass rushers. Kobe Bryant, the corner from Seattle, has 4 as well, but Highsmith's 4 the most among any front 7 guys. So he's taking the football away. He's getting after the football, not just getting the sack. That's important. I think the last thing I want to see from Highsmith, because he's shown basically everything else, is he's got to win against some of these top-end tackles. I know that's tough to do, and those guys are top-end tackles for a reason, but if you want to add any sort of context to just who he's gone against in some of the better games he's had, he faced, I think, a rookie in Raymond last night. When he's faced against some of the top end guys, Teron Armsteads, Mayadas in Philadelphia, stuff like that, he has gone quieter. So I don't expect him to have 3 sack performances against those guys, but I want to see a bit more against the upper echelon tackles. That's probably the last thing you want to see from him to really put him into that next category, that next tier of really, really, A+ pass rushers.
Sure, that's fair. But I mean, he does have a nice feed. It does seem like he has a pass rush plan.
Oh yeah.
He has, he's now more than just a guy that's going to beat you with the off the edge with speed and a rip or a get off or something like that. He's probably got one of the better, if not the best spin move right now off the edge in the NFL. Has been working and developing and getting better at the ghost move. Obviously has the rip, and one of the things we've been talking about, coming out of kind of later into last year and into the start of this year is some more of that speed to power, and he showed that last night.
Right. So that was good to see that at the end for sure to finish that one out. Run defense overall, while it maybe waned a bit in the second half, Taylor pushing the pile forward. What was Taylor's longest run of this game? It was nothing crazy, right? It was 13 yards on 20 carries. So I'm always concerned about him because he's a guy that is going to touch the ball 20 plus times a game. Again, you could stop him 17 times in a row and get him and he be bottled up, and then he busts off that 50-yard run, and that totally changes the course of the game. So that was good to see, just consistently the pursuit, the tackling. That was really important. And then, although it wasn't a traditional fumble, you had mentioned the ball security stuff and that poor exchange, whatever you want to call it, at that mesh point on the goal line there. That is a difference maker in the game.
Sure was. Absolutely was. And it wasn't obviously, it was their own doing. It wasn't a player punching it out, but it was an exchange issue. And who did they put that on Matt Ryan? If not, they need to change that if they did.
Let me check. It says aborted snap. Right.
Yeah, that's not an aborted snap. Yeah. That's a fumble by Jonathan Taylor is what that is.
Right. But and kudos to Chris Wormley, because I thought when I saw that ball bounce, it went back into Ryan's arms, I thought. So I went, crap, that's such a great opportunity. What a lucky bounce for the Colts. And then I saw Highsmith and those guys jumping around, signaling that Pittsburgh has the football. So good on Wormley to muscle that one away from Matt Ryan.
I guess Matt Ryan doesn't have old man strength, does he?
I guess not. Yeah. If you're Wormley, you better not let 37-year-old Matt Ryan take that football away from you. But yeah, that was such a key moment. But I just thought overall the team run defense, not allowing that big play, always a concern. Taylor can bust it on any given play. That was critical to win this game.
I mean, their running backs, there was a stretch there where it looked like Jonathan Taylor sure was running downhill with ease, but the two running backs combined had 88 yards on the ground, and Ronaldo Nehemiah Ryan had 22 yards on the ground.
Wait, who? Ronaldo? You're doing a soccer thing?
No, Nehemiah used to be old track star. That's before your time. I'm throwing out a reference here. I think Ronaldo Nehemiah used to be a hurdler, I think. I'll have to double check that. But he was, when I was growing up, he was one of those fast guys that ran fast, as Mike Mayock would like to say.
You watching World Cup right now? It's USA Iran 0-0 for those who are listening. This pointless information because the game's already decided by the time people listen to this. But anyway,
do we know the outcome already? Or no,
it's scoreless. Yeah, 20 minutes in. But I'm giving.
Ronaldo Nehemiah is a retired American track and field athlete who specialized in the 110-meter hurdles.
Okay.
So it's just a reference that he's quick. You know?
Ryan got some air on that quarterback sneak, and that was good to go over the top because, those linemen always go low on that one. I thought they were going to just play for the offsides and try to draw them off, but that was a good job there by Matt Ryan. But anyway, containing the Colts run game, critical and mission accomplished by the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the secondary, they finally played James Pierre. I don't know what more. They better keep playing James Pierre, but that was a good change up there to change some of those sub-package groupings. Millett still played to some extent kind of his more traditional role when they signed him. But you saw Cam Sutton bump inside. You saw Pierre play on the outside, and cornerbacks 1v1. Pierre, Levi Wallace, Cam Sutton made some plays in this game. So it was good to see those cornerbacks winning contested moments and make some really critical plays on the football.
Absolutely, it was. And even though I think they kind of helped having a couple guys in the wrong, in the same spot there on that first, and why wasn't there a offensive pass interference on Pittman on that, or was there?
On which one?
On that first interception by Pierre.
I don't think they called it. They should have because he totally
he pushed off. Yeah. But it was good. I mean, Levi Wallace had a couple pass breakups in this one, and top to bottom, and I thought it was okay. You just like to see them not miss some tackles sometimes in that secondary.
Yeah, the Colts still made plays. I mean, Pittman got his touchdown later on Pierre, and Jelani Woods was tearing up Pittsburgh in this one for sure. So I know, as you talked about on Monday's show prior to the game, they don't have Kylan Granson and what loss that could be, but they were getting back Jelani Woods at the same time, a really big guy who came on strong, I think, in the pre-draft processes last year at Virginia. So I'll have to go back and check to see how he was consistently winning. It felt like more zone coverage.
It was. I went and looked at some of it today, and he finds some nice, wide open spots in the zone there.
I know early on Pittsburgh played, and they don't traditionally do this, but they played a ton of press, even on the Pierre interception. I mean, those cornerbacks are rolled up and they are jamming. They're kind of playing classic cover 2 technique. So I think some of that stuff I know Matt Ryan talked about, they didn't expect. The Colts did not expect some of those things to happen early on. That seemed to really kind of befuddle them. And then the Colts seemed to adjust and got some plays in the second half. But a good game plan, it felt like, from Pittsburgh to start this game.
And it wasn't perfect, wasn't as good as what you want it to be. But I think the Colts had 2 explosive plays in this game, right?
Yeah, and those were the completions to Pittman and Woods.
Yeah.
And they were both 28 yards, so they were not like 45-yard plays or touchdowns or anything like that.
Absolutely. And that's, if you're not producing them on your side, you better not be giving them up on the other side.
And I talked about the Steelers' success on third down offensively. They're winning on third down defensively. The Bengals were 3-9. The Colts were 3-12 in this game. What were the Saints in Week 10? I imagine they probably weren't that great. They were 3-12, and so they're averaging 30% on third down since the bye. And so again, winning situational football, winning the turnover battle. You do those things, like I keep saying, you're going to be in virtually every single ball game.
Right.
Anything else on defense? I think that probably covers it well. Just a good showing. I mean, the Colts offense, far from a juggernaut. They're one of the few offenses that are worse than Pittsburgh, but still to play that well, you're always happy to see that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, finally, elephant in the room, special teams. There was some good in this game. Let's start with the good on special teams before we talk about all the bad. But Matthew Wright making his kicks, 52-yarder, it doinked in. But hey, 3 points is 3 points. Isaiah Loudermilk with a great field goal block, end of half. That was maybe an overlooked and kind of forgotten about play. Don't know if he would have made the field goal or not, but glad we didn't have to find that one out. But obviously, kick coverage and just a mess in this game. It wasn't even just the 89-yard return. They were giving up chunks of yardage yardage even prior to that moment, missing Miles Boykin certainly. So, and that's been an issue since the bye as well. The Saints game, the Bengals game, and obviously in the Colts game, the kick coverage unit has not been good enough.
Yeah, did not have Robert Spillane and Miles Boykin, and Mike Tomlin made sure to point that out, not using it as an excuse, but just saying, look, that's unacceptable even without those guys.
And Spillane doesn't play on kick coverage unit that much anyway. At least I checked the Bengals game; he wasn't playing it. Maybe he has a different points this year, but certainly Boykin is a loss. And really, regardless, I mean, one guy, you lose him, you shouldn't be responsible for allowing 89-yard run backs.
Right. And Dallas Flowers, of all people, guy I brought up on the podcast the other day, who knew? He certainly did bust one. And like you said, they just overall, I thought for a while there, the way that game was trending, I thought we were going to have have Mike Tomlin be able to repackage what he said post game against the Bengals about field position playing such a big part of that game there, because man, what a shot in the arm for that Colts team, right? Coming out of the locker room, not the best half at all, and by them offensively or defensively for that matter, even though they did get some stops down there, to give them 3/4 of the field right off the chute, made it real easy on them. So definitely got to tighten that up.
Definitely. Yeah, Dallas Flowers, was he a Shrine Bowl guy? I know you had talked about him.
Yeah, because Owen Straley, he was one of Owen Straley's guys. And that's why, and I remember reading and, looking at some film. He's the Pittsburgh kid, the Pittsburgh without the H.
Pittsburgh State. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So I will say, although the Colts still got a touchdown on that drive, you never want to give up 89-yard returns, but kudos to James Pierre for slowing that one up. And then Connor Hayward, heck of an effort to make that tackle. I mean, again, not that you're happy about the outcome of that one, but you do want to give a little tip of the cap for the rundown by the big tight end. Yeah,
because now he's not going to, because Dallas Flowers got kind of hung up there a little bit. I mean, 1-for-1, Connor's not going to beat him down the field there, but because he stayed with it, because he was kind of hung up down the field there, allowed Connor to catch up and make plays. So you can't get somebody if you don't chase after him.
Right, absolutely. But again, big issues there. I'm gonna have to probably do a film or a video on some of the problems there, because those breakdowns have been happening. I just don't think guys were getting off of blocks. Guys were on the ground, and you combine those two things, you're going to allow big returns. And they were challenged. I mean, the Colts knew, because on that 89-yard return, he took that out 7-8 yards deep. Like, they knew, let's go after the football. Let's try to challenge the Steelers coverage unit. I don't know how much Matthew Wright's hang times are maybe influencing that. He's got the leg to get the ball into the end zone, but is it a lower line drive? Is the hang time not as good? I'm not quite sure. But regardless, your coverage unit has to be more buttoned up than that.
And what about the offsides on Cam Sutton too? That was a big play in the game.
Yeah, although I guess ultimately it almost helped the team in a weird sense, because that led to the Jonathan Taylor fumble and actually took 3 points off the board. But obviously just a mental mistake at the moment. You can't anticipate all that happening. So just a foolish play there, unfortunately, for Cam Sutton.
And then make sure we shout out Isaiah Loudermilk for a field goal block.
I don't even know if he saw it. He kind of turned his body and just put his hand up, but he'll take it. I mean, that's why you put the big 6'7" guy in that A gap and just let him try to, because usually on those 59-yarders, they're a bit lower overall to try to get some of that distance, and let him got a hand on it. And that was a great job by him. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts here in this game? Just happy to get that win. Again, not that the Colts are going to the Super Bowl or anything like that, but get that road win. You're 4-7. You still have some theoretical math to play with in terms of if you could get on a winning streak here. But that's the main goal, is can this team find its first winning streak of the year? It's not going to be easy on the road, short week against Atlanta, but that's going to be the challenge.
Look, beat the teams that most of us probably think that they should beat. I thought they should beat this Colts team, and they did. And look, you're developing a quarterback along the way on top of it there. So, I tell you what, I'm going into into this week, even though it's another road game and it's a short week for the Steelers here. I think this is a game the Steelers should win, to be honest with you.
Sure. Yeah. I just worry about the circumstances. I think about how the Saints, when they played on Monday night and they travel on the road to Pittsburgh and they look pretty flat in that game. Sure. Can this group get up enough for just the circumstances? A short week on the road, back-to-back road games. That's pretty heavy, but we'll see what happens.
All right.
All right, Dave, I think it probably wraps things up. Well, let's do reader emails tomorrow on the regular Wednesday show.
What
as
all
we watch the tape more.
Tomlin on? Did you recap what Tomlin said on the injuries and all today?
Today, no update on Najee Harris on that injury. So really just a non-update there. Then mentioned some of the bumps and bruises of Watt and Jack Ogunjobi, but those guys should all play against the Falcons. Yeah, I guess we should mention briefly Tomlin's press conference today. That's why we're kind of doing the show a bit later. We wanted to wait until after Tomlin spoke, but didn't really have a whole lot to say, I guess, overall, did he, Dave?
What did you think about his comments about Millette?
Yeah, what was the exact phrase there? The dominant corners are little angry men or something like that.
Yeah, hold on a minute. I'll read it off to you here real quick here. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, it's very much a Tomlin.
Oh, what did you think about the whole time management thing with Saturday there? Did you think it was as egregious? I mean, they still had plenty of time and 3 timeouts. I mean, I suppose the biggest thing was, taking the time to maybe put some heads together for a better play call or something, sure. I guess. But I tell you what, Alex Highsmith knew what was coming there on that run, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. I think you have the quote there from talking about, anticipating what that play call was going to be. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a little overdone, but I don't know how you let that much time tick away. I just felt a little off. And I think Saturday just spoke just moments ago and said he wished he would have had that one over. So the woes of a new interim head coach handling some of those situations for maybe one of the first times. But yeah, it didn't feel great overall from him.
Right. And it didn't turn out great for him either there. So,
no, it didn't. What's the quote I'm going to let?
Let's see. He says he's a rundown nickel. He's a good blitzer. He's a good tackler. He brings a demeanor for a small guy that's kind of reflective of the dominant nickels that play. All the nickels that are dominant ones are angry little people.
That's a comment near and dear to my short king heart. So I appreciate that. And also I like the emphasis on he's a rundown guy because lately he was becoming the every down guy. So he became just a rundown guy in that game.
Little subtle message there, huh?
With the rundown stuff. Yeah. I mean, again, that's the way he should be. That's the way he was signed to be. That's where he played last year. And that's where he started this year. I know injuries kind of forced their hand earlier this year, but this group has gotten healthier. And again, keep playing James Pierre. Even when William Jackson comes back later in December and whenever Witherspoon's hamstring gets healthy, I guess, Pierre's a guy that, A, he's playing well, and B, you want to just get a longer look at him, a bigger picture, larger sample size of that body of work so you can really evaluate who you have in this guy, especially when Jackson, very unlikely to be retained next year. Cam Sutton's going to be a free agent. What happens with Witherspoon, who the heck knows? So you better find out what you have in guys like James Pierre so you can start planning your off-season and 2023 roster.
All right, real quick, did anything stick out on the charting?
A lot of safety blitzes. I mean, they were bringing some safety pressure. You mentioned the sack that Millette had. Edmonds had a sack. Casey blitzed a couple of times. Cam Sutton should have had a sack. And had you not sack a 37-year-old Matt Ryan on that play. But a lot of safety pressure. But that was probably the only notable thing. Some big nickel as well. Actually did run a couple of snaps of big nickel, that 3 safety line. And actually, there were times where they were subbing Edmonds out for DeMonte Casey and still 2 safety packages. So don't know exactly the rationale there, but there were some times where Edmonds, normally an every down player, was actually getting subbed out.
What did you see on the dropping of the outside linebackers?
Yeah, a fair amount. I mean, some of that schematic stuff, twin receiver sets, that's going to happen. Sometimes the empty stuff is going to force that. And also Pittsburgh, a couple times we're staying in their base defense. The Colts do play a lot of 11 personnel, even with, especially with Granson out. And so because Pittsburgh wanted to stop the run that was so important to them, they actually were staying in their base 3-4 defense against some 11 personnel, 3 receiver sets where typically they'd be a nickel. And so to match that, you have to walk linebackers out and drop them into coverage and things like that. So the coverage rates were high in this game, but I think with well explained and well rationed reasons.
All right. I guess we need to get out. What are we, about an hour here?
50 minutes or so. Yeah.
All right. We will get to some reader emails on Wednesday. I've just barely poked and prodded around in the all 22 and give Alex some time to go through it as well too. We'll have a fuller recap of the game, of the win against the Colts on Monday Night Football after we fully digest the tape and all. And in the meantime, got some great film rooms going up on SteelersDepot.com and just a lot of great content overall throughout the night. as well. Who knows when Ben Roethlisberger is going to chime in on this game as well, too. We'll make sure to cover that if he has anything notable to say. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, we have an ad-free version of the site as well. Upper right navigational bar, click the ad-free button. So until Wednesday, about this time tomorrow, a little earlier maybe. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.